I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Smack 'em macabre, it's time for the only news that matters. And Julian Lennon was John Lennon's first child and the first of all the Beatles' children. He didn't have a particularly strong relationship with his father, though. After Lennon and his wife Cynthia divorced, Julian rarely saw his father. While he said he has forgiven his father for his behavior, Julian once said he did blame Lennon for not being a good father to him. Julian was born in 1963, just as the Beatles were making it big. By 1968, his parents had divorced following Lennon's affair with Yoko Ono. After that, Julian's relationship with his father grew strained. While they saw each other more in the 70s, Julian said Lennon always felt like a stranger to him. He said, "It was very distant. I probably knew him as much as I know you," he told the reporter from the Telegraph in 1998. Said, "That's about how warm it was. There were cuddles and now and then, but there was always an uneasy tension." And he admitted that he blamed Lennon for being a poor father. He said, "Yes, I do. If you bring a child into this world, whether it's planned or an accident, you better make sure you care for it. You have to be around. You make time. It's as simple as that." What adds another edge of tragedy to Lennon and Julian's relationship is that the Beatles knew how his son felt. When Lennon was 4, his parents separated and he went to live with his aunt and uncle. While he saw his mother occasionally, his father, Alfred, fell out of his life entirely, according to Paul McCartney. And that always bothered Lennon. Paul said his father left home when he was 4. And I don't think John ever got over that. I talked to him about it and he would wonder, could he have left because of me? Of course he couldn't, but I don't think John ever shook off that feeling. Lennon knew the impact of his father's abandonment on his life, but he did the same thing to his own son. He said that the feeling of not being wanted as a child was terrible, but he passed on the same feeling to Julian. Julian said that as he aged, he learned to forgive his father. He'd written a song about his childhood friend Lucy after learning of her death, and it helped soften his resentment. He said, "With Dad running off and divorcing Mom, I had a lot of bitterness and anger. I was living with, in the past, and I had said I had forgiven Dad, but it was only words. It wasn't until the passing of my friend Lucy and the writing of this song that really helped me forgive my father. I realized if I continued to feel this anger and bitterness toward my dad, I would have the constant cloud hanging over my head my whole life." He added that writing was therapeutic for him and helped him better understand Lennon. He said, "Writing is therapy for me, and for the first time in my life, I actually feeling it and believing it." And he said, "I also had allowed me to actually embrace Dad and the Beatles." And good for Julian for forgiving his dad. I don't think I could. If my father was to abandon me, all fathers out there, you're all a piece of crap. If you abandon your child, you should have wore a condom. Or the greatest form of protecting yourself with sex is a facial, right? I think I'm right. But anyway, John Lennon was a piece of crap. He's known as this, iconic figure where, his song Imagine, I mean, the sentiment is right, but it was written by a guy that owned a mansion in England, a mansion in West Palm Beach, and a ritzy hotel there in New York. And yet he wrote the line, imagine no possession. It isn't hard to do. Oh, it was hard to do for him. The guy had money shooting out of his ass, and he didn't cut down to, why not just live in one place? And those other extravagant mansions, hey, give it away. Imagine if he would have gave it away. And Lennon also said in interviews that he used to beat his wife and other girls too. He would beat them up. This is what a lot of people claim is Saint John, but actually he was a piece of crap. And Julian said that he gave enough money for him to go to school, but nothing else. And they were kind of, struggling. While, his father was a damn Beatle with all the money in the world, and he didn't really support them that much. Well, at least he gave some money for school, but seriously, with all the money that he had, that was just a drop in a bucket. And even after he died, he didn't really leave anything for the Lennon family. And they were struggling while Yoko Ono, was making a lot of money off John after he died. He was selling Lennon ties and all this, merch stuff. And she was rolling in dough after his death, on his name. And yet she wouldn't send no money to the Lennon family, which is just disgraceful. I don't like that woman. And, Cynthia, his first wife, didn't like the fact that he was cheating on her. And then, he left her for Yoko. Once he hooked up with Yoko, he said, all right, I'm getting rid of this wife. I don't need her anymore. And he went with Yoko. And, a lot of people out there are like, what? Why? Why did he go with Yoko? I mean, he's a Beatle. He can have any girl in the world he wants. Why Yoko? Well, I personally think his eye doctor gave him the wrong prescription glasses. Seriously. But I have no excuse why what he saw in her singing or that yelling craziness. For the life of me, I will never understand how Lennon, actually added her to the songs with all that yapping and screaming and crazy stuff. But hey, I will admit, she's better than Sammy Hagar and Slipknot. At least there's that. Now, according to Dorothy Jartlett, she was the housekeeper. She claims that John Lennon smacked Julian for having bad table manners. And she said, actually, Julian's table manners were, if anything, better than average. So yeah, he would even beat on his kid for table manners. Well, what's up with that, It's just, I don't know. Throughout the marriage, John slept with other women and would leave drugs laying around the house. Things came to his head when he drunkenly told Cynthia about his affair with the Japanese artist Yoko Ono. Soon after Ono revealed she was pregnant, John's divorce was finalized at the end of 1968. But the guy was a musical genius, I think, in the Beatles. I mean, Day in a Life to me is the greatest Beatles song. And then my second favorite is In My Life. I mean, the guy was on fire in the Beatles musically. But I'm not a fan of his solo stuff. There's some okay tunes, but for the most part, I remember, back in the day, I bought that box set, the John Lennon box set of all his solo work, and studied it, listened to it for many, many years, till I came to the conclusion that he really wasn't that good on his own, you know? But then again, what do I know? I didn't like George Harrison on his own either. I liked the song All Those Years Ago. That was a cool tune. But I didn't like All Things Must Pass. Ringo had a couple good tunes. I liked Photograph, No, No, No in the 70s. You know, he had some decent stuff. But Paul was the best. To me, Paul and McCartney and Wings and a lot of his solo stuff. Absolutely love, like Ram and the first album with the Cherries. But Lennon, wasn't a fan. I mean, I liked some songs, but I didn't love them. And also, and this ain't a popular theory, I think Lennon peaked on the White Album. Now, I do like She's So Heavy, I like Come Together. You know, I liked a few songs after the White Album, but I don't think any of those songs was as good as I'm So Tired and Glass Onion. You know, he had so many killer tunes on that White Album. And before, the guy was just on fire, man. He was a musical genius, but once he left the Beatles, it just wasn't that good. But I know a lot of you would disagree with that. And if you do, leave it in the comments below. I would like to know what you think of John Lennon's music and what do you think of him as a human being. Is it cool that he beat his woman and smacked Julian for bad table manners? Let me know if you're cool with that so I can make you disappear, you prick. Anyway, that's it for the only news that matters, and I want to thank all of you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and ring that little notification bell, and like the video. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.